Because that's the worry. That is why I still am on that trend, track rather. How can this be remedied? Are we having a system whereby we have some untouchables, some few individuals who can, turn things around? Because if that is, and it can't be changed, look, we're doomed.
I give kudos to the present CJN. He's a fantastic man. I've known him when he was a judge in Taraba State. Ascetic, brilliant, straightforward. And he has held the bulls by the horn now. He has started a mosaic crusade for us in the legal process. And we must have to support him. People like us must now speak out to support him. For him to have had the boldness to stand before judges of the Court of Appeal and draw their attention to these conflicting judgments means that he has got it up to this point. We must support him.
Beyond talking, what kind of support should we be giving to him?
Let people start talking the way I've started today.
Yeah, but what else can he do? I mean, he's the CJN. He should be able to do something apart from pointing it out.
He is within a system that, he has to walk through that system. He's a lone ranger now. Let us hear what his other colleagues will say.
I was actually
nobody has, outside the CJ, nobody has made any statement about that statement, which is a very profound statement.
Mr. Clarke, I was actually waiting for you to use that word, a lone ranger, because that is why I kept on harping on it. How can we help the situation? Because it seems as if he's just alone talking about this, and for the first time we're getting to see someone of your status joining this talk. How can he get more support that goes beyond talking, that can change things?
Look, we've had a lone ranger in the judiciary before, a former CJ of the Federation, ascetic, brilliant, and I will mention his name, Kutiji. Everybody knows him. He's unbendable. But the system nearly ruined him. Do you know it was during his tenure that we could not appoint senior advocates in a particular year just because he was not ready to bend backwards and said, look, I prefer not to appoint any senior advocate this year. When I leave the judiciary, you do what you want to do. But that thing went unnoticed. But if we have people like that, today we have Mahmoud that has come out to make a very bold statement, we have to support him. And I'm calling on all my top colleagues in the profession that we have to do something now. It's a rot that is in the profession. How can you have 4 or 5 conflicting judgments on one given issue of law? It does not happen in the Admiralty section. It does not happen in the criminal section. It does not happen in the land cases. When you have a land matter, in so and so, the Supreme Court has decided this. But now you cannot. You enter a tribunal, you cannot quote a Supreme Court judgment. And then you will be sure you are on your correct footing.
Do you think this is likely to also impact on the cases or fight against corruption?
Well, this is part of the aspect of corruption. If there is the word corruption, this is one of the Babanla corruption. So it's part of the fight for corruption. It's even worse. The corruption in the judiciary is worse than the corruption in any other place, because that is the citadel of justice. That is where you find that corruption should not even rear its head. But if the head of the house himself will now say, enough is enough, search yourselves, find a solution, you shouldn't have a problem as lawyers. The law is settled.
Are you saying that as chief judge, he can do nothing more? Is that what you're saying?
What do you want him to do? He cannot castigate any judge unless somebody writes a petition against that judge to him.
He can't call to question, judgments that have been written. No. If you say the judgments are conflicting, he can point them out.
No, he cannot. Until that judgment comes before him in the apex court, and he has the opportunity to make statements about it.
There are judgments. Only be one person.
Yeah, he will castigate the judge that wrote that judgment. There are judgments where, the Supreme Court has castigated appeal court judges for coming to such conclusions or reasoning. Then they use that opportunity. But you see, we rarely get the guts we now got, from him now. And we have to now use it effectively, especially those of us in the profession.
How would you assess our fight against corruption, especially from the angle of the courts?
Well, corruption is not a one-way route. It's a combination of all the routes. The police, the investigation people, you and I who have to report about it, and the courts who have to adjudicate on it. So it's not a single route. If one of the chain is weak, then the effect will be, bad. So the three must come together. The investigation must be done thoroughly, which I believe now, due to the mentality of Nigerians about Buhari. The fear of Buhari is the beginning of wisdom now to corrupt people. Okay, the investigation is now being done thoroughly. The prosecution, and then the dispensation. So it's not a one way only. It's a tripartite way. And all the three must move together to give a cohesion that you and I need.
Well, Mr. Robert Clarke is the Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
Always my pleasure.